You join me today at the wheel of something a bit unusual. Yes, it's a French fleet car effectively, but this one is a little bit out of the ordinary, as this one is a 406 V6. Hello, welcome to Furious Driving. Now we're going to take a step back into the 1990s today, where it's easy to forget in today's era of easy to get PCP deals, so everyone's driving a new car, just what a big deal company cars were back in the 80s and certainly still in the 1990s, when fleet car sales were one of the manufacturers' biggest sources of revenue and their hardest fought markets. So we have things like this car, the Peugeot 406, which was absolutely everywhere back in the mid-90s through to the early noughties. Now this car was a fleet sales favourite. It was up against some really tough competition. Things like the first generation Mondeo came out in the early 90s, the Vectra B came out about the same year as this, the Vectra C came out during this thing's production. So it had hard battles to fight, but it did it well. And there's a massive range of engines under the bonnet. And looking at this car, it'd be easy to assume this was a 1.8 or a 2-litre diesel, because they were literally everywhere back in the 1990s, and that's what fleet managers liked. However, under the bonnet of this one, and there's really nothing to give this away apart from that tiny badge on the flank, this is a 3-litre V6. Now looking around the exterior of the 406, you can see why it was such a hit. The outside of the car was styled by Pininfarina, and the inside of the car, underneath what you can see here, is actually the same platform as the Citroën Xantia, just without all the clever hydrodynamic suspension. So what you've got here is a beautiful Italian-styled saloon sitting on a perfect French cushiony ride, which also kind of handles a little bit. Now that's a good package, and if your company's paying for that as well, all the better. Now this particular car, as you can see here, is a saloon, 4-door, 3-box, fairly traditional. That's unusual really, because they also offered a 5-door estate and they did a 2-door coupe. But unlike the Mondeo, the Laguna, the Vectra, pretty much everything else in its class, there was no hatchback version. It was purely a very good looking 4-door saloon, a bit like the Alfa 156, that's very Italian. Now let's look under the bonnet and see where the magic happens. Get that. We've got gas struts on this car, that's pretty fancy. Fancy. Now here you would normally expect to be finding a 4-cylinder something, whether it's anything from 1.8 to a 2.2 diesel or a similar kind of size petrol. But in this case we have got this V6, which I believe is shared with Renault and was used in a few other applications as well across the range. The range is, but it's not, I do not believe, the PRV as used in the DeLorean. That was a slightly earlier engine. Now the list of engines that went into this car is frankly exhaustive. First of all, in diesel form, there was initially the 1.9 and 2.1 TD, not even a TDI, which was replaced at facelift time by a 2-litre and a 2.2 HDI. They made between 90 and 133 horsepower. We're not talking about them today. Then there are the petrols, of which there are manifold. Now throughout the production run of, well, close to a decade, there was a 1.6, 3 1.8s, 3 2-litres, a 2-litre HPI, a 2-litre turbo, and probably the best of the 4 cylinders, the 2.2, which made 158 horsepower. Then we got the good stuff, which the average rep cruising up and down the M1 was not going to be pulling into fleet services to refill. This, the V6 version, there were actually 2 versions of the V6. They're both labelled the 3-litre, even though they're technically a 2.9. One made 190 horsepower and the other, I believe this one, made 207. Now getting in the boot is easy, it's just a little button in the middle of the badge, you push the lion's foot and you're in. This is a cavernous old boot. It's funny opening though. I mean, if looking back to the 90s when this car was current, everyone carried these things called curver boxes, which are like plastic crates of varying sizes in the boots of their cars if they were travelling around, because it meant they could keep their samples if they're a salesperson. This was of course years before sat-nav, so everyone, if they were travelling a lot, had boxes of maps. If you were a travelling working person, you had boxes of the things, so everything from large scale of the country down to fine scale of whatever patch you were covering. So yeah, you had these boxes of maps, boxes of everything else, but getting things in and out of this boot is actually a little bit tricky because these lights really cut into the opening on the sides. The lip is really high, so you've got a good, well, 15-20 centimetres of black plastic to get things over, to get into the boot. It doesn't go back that far into the body of the car, and where it does, the lower edge of the window just makes a sill that you can't get things through either. So big suitcases and stuff, if you're a taxi driver going to airport runs, this is going to be rubbish. Now over on the either side of the boot we have got little plinths behind the lights. On the right hand side there's nothing to see. On the left hand side there's a hidden bit of carpet hiding a flap, underneath which is the 6-disc CD changer. There's no branding on it, but judging by the colour of the eject button, I'm going to say it may be an Alpine. The only other thing to mention, we've got 4 little lash downs. They're very small ones and they're tucked quite tight against the carpet in the corners of the boot. can't see one that's over there, and one over here. This is quite a new thing for the early 90s. You didn't really see this much before this era of car. We do also have a pull-down handle in the boot. This is marking the car as from the modern age, not the retro age. Now, while your wage slaves and sales reps weren't exactly slumming it in their benefit-in-kind funded transport, the V6 version did suddenly step up and become a fair bit nicer and fancier than before. Let me take you off the tripod and show you around. Now, before we climb back into these rather sumptuous leather seats, let's first draw your attention to these multi-way electric functions with memory as well in these seats. This is not standard on the 1.6 petrol, I have to say. And we do have rather fancy Peugeot, or Peugeot if you want to be French about it, kick sills with the shiny writing. There are some quite nice red mats. I thought these were a factory colour, but they're not. These are over mats. I'm not sure if this carpet is nicer than the standard carpet as well. It feels a bit softer than I would expect. Over in the door we have some very, very soft velour-y material which matches the biscuit beige of the leather seats. And of course, being the top line car, we've got the wood. We've got tons of this walnut veneer stuff going around the car. Firstly in the door here, separating the plasticky, slightly rubberized elephant hide in the top, this velour stuff we just mentioned, and then of course the lower part of the door. It's quite nice, the styling. They've managed to mix a lot of sharp edges and subtle curves in the shape of the 406, both on the inside and the outside. And so we have this door handle and lock combination, which looks a little bit like a guy in a canoe, like an old sort of wooden canoe sitting in the back paddling away, or fishing, if you want to use your imagination there, or possibly the man in the moon, I don't know. Very, very small door pull actually. This is actually awkwardly small. I'm surprised how inconvenient it is. Over on the main body of the door here, the main panel of the door I should say, we've got all our electrical things. We've got 4 electric windows. We're in the top line car, no keep fit stuff here. Lockout, huge lockout, that's mad. The size of the lockout for the rear windows is bigger than both the rear window buttons combined. And then we've got electric mirrors quite a way back here on this panel. Down into the door, because this is the dawn of the 90s and practicality, it's stuff we didn't really see in the 80s so much. We've got a door pocket, in the front of which is a speaker, which actually, I'm going to open the door for this, which actually curves out quite interestingly, and it's also a nice lozengey shape, which also all sort of mirrors the door handle. Now moving into the dashboard, we've got a continuation of the wooden strip, which if you notice how that ends here quite a way back in the door, that's actually how the two just click together so that one vanishes into the other one. And down by your knee, before we move up into the top of the car, we've got a few buttons down here. That door keeps swinging shut on me. Got a few buttons down here. First of all, we've got light things for dimming the panel and adjusting the headlamps. Exciting, boring. This is the main on-off for the cruise control, which is conveniently placed somewhere below your right knee. And then volumetric alarm on and off, so you can leave the car not armed if you've got pets in the car and so forth, or children. And then this is one of the weirdest things you'll find on this car of all. Down here, we've got the ignition key in the usual ignition key place, but once you've turned the key to the first stage, you can't start it. I will demonstrate. This is me not starting the car with a beepy noise happening. To pull down this hidden little panel here, which looks like a fuse bin, type in the code number, beep, 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 and then, doing off camera of course, then the green light comes on and we can start our engine. Gentlemen, start your engines. Now I'll just shut it off and on again because these dials do have a couple of interesting functions here. Okay, in the middle we've got our usual stuff of speedometer on the right, fuel gauge in the middle in a sub dial, and a tacho on the left. On the right hand side we've got water temperature. On the left hand side we've got oil temperature, but turn it on and for the first few moments of ignition this gives you your oil level. So it's risen right up to the top of the gauge, showing that is, you know, the correct amount of full of oil, as in not, I'm going to say not too much, not too little, when it's in the middle, that little black line in between the two red parts just there. And then after a few moments that drops down to nothing because that is the oil temperature. Now that's not a common feature, but a great idea though. And there we have, there's our instrument dials. Also of vague interest, you notice that every circle has the bottom truncated ever so slightly. No particular reason for that, it just is. Let's kill the power. Moving over to, I do think I've seen something similar to this clock. I thought, trying to cast my mind back, I think it was a 205, had a similar trapezoidal triangle, but far more wedgy in that car. Over to the right hand side of the binnacle, just tucked into the little overflow space. Now moving back from those dials, we've got our very, very curvy, swoopy steering wheel. Big bulge in the centre because we've got airbags in this car. Airbags early 1995, so yeah, becoming pretty much a thing that's standard on every driver's steering wheel. Not necessarily standard on the passenger side, but I think they were standard across the range on these cars. Every single model did get an airbag. The Lion does go from strength to strength just here. That's not the horn though. The horn is over here. Wow, that's proper hornage. We like that. That's on the end of the lights and wipers stalk. That's an unusually positioned thing. That's really harking back to the 60s and 70s for sticking a horn over there. But know that hidden between your prongs of your steering wheel is the sub command. Having turned the cruise on with your knee, you can then set your speed and that kind of stuff with the right hand one. Over on the right, we've got wipers above, and then audio controls on a stalk behind the wheel. Below those wipers, this is kind of the dawn of new technology that we're really familiar with. You'd expect the most basic 1 litre, I don't know, Kia or Peugeot 1007 to have steering wheel controls for the radio and cruise and that kind of stuff now, but in the early 90s that really wasn't a thing. Then moving across to the middle of the dashboard, I'll show you, this is a nice leather wheel. I forgot to mention that. This is because everything in this car is super fancy. This is a leather steering wheel. Then over in the middle we've got lots of very plain black plastic actually. This is where the exciting luxury executiveness of this car, this is the kind of car that the president's security detail would have driven, and sort of government ministers would have been provided with the V6 406. Yet the plastic on here is so Fisher-Price, it's astonishing. But it is well loaded with kit. Alongside the rear screen heater and hazard warning lights, we do have a fairly big screen, which is the trip computer. There's a button somewhere over here on the end of the wipers. We can cycle through your trip, your temperature outside, range of the car, miles per gallon, average MPG 28.6. That's actually pretty good for this car, and the usual kind of stuff that you'd expect from a trip computer. Below which we've got our climate control. It's a single zone, but it is air conditioned and climate control, of course. Manual fans or auto fans. Pretty advanced stuff, but it's all very, very big, very plasticky and very spaced out, filling the space with big buttons rather than adding more equipment. Underneath that we've got the radio. Interestingly, there's a big flap on the radio, which is fairly uncommon, behind which you'll find radio cassette. So you've got a cassette player here in the front of the car, and we've got the 6-disc changer over in the boot. Then we've got the radio controls. Again, it's all just very, very plasticky, which is a surprise. Beneath which we've got more timber. There's a nice size cubby down here, also in the walnut with the ashtray. A 5-speed manual gearbox with nice leather everything on it. Leather gaiter, leather gear knob. It all feels really nice. See what that's like on the road in a second. That's a good space for your phone, but there's no space for your cup of tea. So considering this is a company car, a car designed to be driven by people basically living and working on the road, there's only one place to balance a cup, which is here on the ashtray, and that's obviously not going to stay there the moment you start hitting the turns fast. T-shelf up here on the dashboard. That's slopey, that's not good. And if you can't put anything on you could put a sandwich or something grippy. A pasty would fit happily on the airbag, but if that goes off, you're going to be wearing your lunch. And being French, that could be pasty for the food or pastis for the drink. Obviously, you want aperitif. So we'll say 0 out of 10 on the T-shelfery. Nowhere for snacks. Moving back, we've got a proper manual handbrake next to heated seats. So nice bum warmers here in the centre for both seats. Not much indication in way of which is left and which is right. I guess you'd figure it out by trial and error. 12-volt lighter socket thingy, carpet-lined cubby hole behind there, and over on the passenger side we have got more of your old timber going on over there into the door, and pretty much a mirror image of the driver's door. You can actually see better from this side. There's also a red warning light, so when the door's open you can not have your door smashed off by passing traffic, which is always nice. Now the back of the car has more of this delightful soft tan leather, which really is a cut above what you get in your velour-clad Rentmobiles. This feels so nice. I'm almost loath to climb in because it's kind of muddy out here today, and this is so clean inside. I've got seat back pockets, which are obviously leather and feel kind of suede lined because that's the back of what leather is. There's an ashtray in the centre of the console, armrests for both the front seats, and we do have a pull-down armrest here for the rear passengers, a little ski hatch into the boot for passing small poultry through. In the back shelf though, we have more goodness. There is, now what I believe this to be is a first aid kit location. It's not marked as such because I guess UK cars maybe didn't have that requirement. We do have a sun blind as well, so you can be sitting in luxury. Now this sticker you may have noticed here in the back window, this is the original selling dealer from 1998. That's rather cool, isn't it? I love a bit of originality like that. In front of that we do have a rear courtesy light for the rear passengers because we are posh that way. And one more thing, we do have Peugeot badges on the rear door kick plates, which is slightly unusual. Normally it's only found on the front doors. That V6 does sound so creamy, and honestly when you're standing next to the car you can barely tell the car is actually running. Now let's get this thing out on the open road and see what it's like, giving it a little bit more poke. Well, it pulls away briskly. And you know what, the first thing I'm noticing is how light all the controls are. This really is an absolute breeze to drive. Everything's power assisted to the nth degree. Pedals are feather light under your foot. The steering feels like almost nothing actually, and the car doesn't roll, but it's very smooth through a bend. So all in all, it is very, very French. This is my initial observation of the car. The brakes are powerful. It's actually got disc brakes all round, which is not surprising. That was from the outset of the car's production. It was discs all round. So in diesel form, this was actually one of the best-selling diesel cars all across Europe for much of its run, actually. And the thing was, it was a popular car from the outset. The 405 before it had been really, really popular. It was, I'm going to use the word ubiquitous here because they were just literally everywhere. You couldn't move for 405s. They were popular with fleet managers of all kinds. There was a time when virtually every city centre taxi you saw was a 405 in some parts of the country. In the early part of the noughties, a friend of mine actually had a white 405 and he could not stop within 100 metres of a pub without someone climbing into the back seat and asking him to take them to the railway station or home or something. I had to get rid of the car in the end, it was ridiculous. But they were good value. They started around just under 13 grand for the basic 1.6 or 1.8 diesels, going up to, for this thing, about just shy of 24,000. But of course, fleet cars, that kind of market, there were always bargains to be had, so you could have got one of these things, I'm sure, for a hefty discount, especially a V6, because higher road tax, higher fuel bills, not many company cars, love that E36, and not many company car drivers are going to be taking one of these. This is the director's car for certain. And it really does feel like a slice of comfort and luxury in here. It really was far more common to find the V6 motor under the bonnet of the coupe than it was the saloon. But a few of them did sell, a few were built, not that many. Apparently there are about 30 V6s left now, but this has to be one of the best, I'm sure. So in this form, this is significantly impressive as an engined car. 207 horsepower, 285 newton meters of torque. That's significant. 0 to 60 is under 8 seconds if you have got somewhere you can do 60 miles an hour, as I do seem to be in a 30-mile-an-hour housing estate, and this thing will do 146 miles an hour. That's not bad from this rather sleekly shaped, impressive little car. Now, overall range from this tank of petrol in the V6 version is about 445 miles, which is very good actually for a car with this size of engine and this size of body. But did you know that the diesel engine version actually holds the record for the longest driven distance on a single tank of fuel, and it was done in Australia, and it was about 2,500 kilometers, which is pretty good going, frankly. As I mentioned, this car has got the beige leather interior, which really does lift the interior. As standard, it was a black leather trim setup. It was a no-cost option, apparently, to go to the beige leather, which I think was absolutely the right thing to do. It seriously improves the look of this car no end. If you're a movie buff, you may recognise this particular car's shape and indeed engine note. I'm not sure you got this car in America if you're watching over there. But if you are familiar with the movie Ronin, the chase scene through the oncoming traffic, which is actually choreographed by using numbers of flashes of lights apparently. One flash for I'm going to swerve left, two flashes for I'm going to swerve right, so the drivers could not drive into each other, which is a good thing. Yeah, because everyone remembers the Audi A8 from Ronin, but the 406 was another of the kind of unsung heroes of that movie. Now, you might expect a family car to be very strong on the safety points. And it has obviously got all the things you'd expect. The seatbelts all round, airbags, ABS. ABS not being standard below the GLS level, which became the LX later on in the car's life. But in fact, it only got a 2 stars, demoted to a 1.5 star apparently, in the Euro NCAPs when it was released. It wasn't until later, when the car was facelifted in 1999, when it actually rose up to a 3-star NCAP, which is surprisingly not good. This is an astonishingly good looking car, it really has to be said. Of all the Repmobiles of the mid-90s, this did win on panache points. The Mondeo looked really good. It was fresh and exciting and new. The Vectra had a few interesting points. This though, the Italian Pininfarina style won the day through and through. This car is in Diablo Red, which looks really, really good, really sets the shape of the car off. It's a fantastic mixture of sharp creases and gentle curves in all the right places to make it a really good looking car. Now, spec-wise, this car is a tiny bit odd because it's got the manual gearbox rather than the automatic, which you would probably expect to find in a V6 powered car. But I'm very, very happy to find it here because I do prefer this 5-speed manual over the 4-speed auto, which would be the alternative. Cars like this kind of exist in France because of the way that the French are really. They are very, very proud of their own domestic industry and will always champion their own products and buy their own products for government and for their own businesses, really. So if a company director in France wanted an affordable, mid-range, but executive-y kind of a car, he would go and buy himself a V6 Peugeot or V6 Renault, which is something we've kind of shied away from in this country. We didn't go and support things like the Rover 800 and the Jag quite so much. There was a march over to the German brands. If you've enjoyed this drive out in, frankly, a little bit unusual company car today, then do hit the subscribe button and the like button. That makes a massive difference to all of us YouTube types. Thanks for watching. Smash the bell notification down there and join me again next time. I'll be driving something completely different.